let's get it going. We've got episode number 8, Wings Up Weekly Tennessee Tech Athletics video podcast. I'm excited about our guest today. Really looking forward to our conversation. He's Tennessee Tech head coach John Pelphrey, head coach of the men's basketball team. Coach, it's great to see you. How are you?
Doing good, Dylan. We obviously have had a lot to deal with here, in the spring and with our basketball team, and Cookeville started off with, kind of the conclusion of basketball season, dealing with the F4 tornado, and certainly want everybody to know that we still think about them and, losing so many lives here and the economic impact that had. And a couple of weeks later, we, had to deal with COVID-19 and, our team had to shift to online, and remote to finish out the academic semester, and our guys did very well with that. So there's been a lot going on for everybody to kind of deal with, but I think, we're pleased with what our guys were able to do, especially academically. And we've tried to stay connected right now in this time. Obviously there was some recruiting that went on as well in there. So there's been quite a bit going on in the last 3 months.
And obviously a lot going on right now. One of the first things we do on every episode of Wings Up Weekly, whoever we're talking to, is to get an update on how their team is doing. The timing is perfect for this because just yesterday you were able to have a Zoom meeting just like this one with your entire team. What can you tell us about how that meeting went?
Well, we've been trying to stay connected with our guys on Wednesdays and Fridays, and we talk about different stuff. And yesterday, we did have a little bit of an emergency meeting. Obviously, there's a lot going on in our country. And our whole deal, Dylan, is about learning and leadership. And, with the recent events that has impacted our entire nation, around social justice, it's something that we feel terrible with what's been going on, and to the Floyd family and that whole incident. When you see something like that, it's shocking. It is something that is very confusing. It's something that for me personally, it made me angry. And then obviously too, at some point in time, with all this awareness, we got to stop. We got to listen. We got to learn. We've got to educate ourselves so that we can be a part of effective change that needs to happen. There's no place for racism in our society. There's just not. And everybody understands what right and wrong looks like. And all that is wrong. So with our team, what we wanted to do is we wanted to get to them to see how they're feeling, to let them know that our code that we believe in, that we want to help prepare these young men to be the best they can be in their academics, to be the best they can be on the basketball floor, to be the best leader they can be so they can go out in this community of Cookeville and serve. We want to help prepare them with that. We've had to help them be prepared with, some of the feelings they may be having with the tornado. We had to encourage them to stay safe and healthy and informed surrounding COVID-19 because it has claimed a lot of lives, caused a lot of financial hardships for a lot of people. But this was another thing that we're going to try to learn, lead, and encourage our young men to be aware of what's going on, because I really believe we have an opportunity here to be effective and create change.
Well said, Coach. And I'd have to imagine during that meeting and getting some of the players the opportunity to speak and have that sort of conversation and that sort of dialogue, what were some of the things that the players wanted to talk about and some of the things during your Zoom conversation yesterday that the players got into?
Well, I think, those guys will continue, to share. We're going to provide them a platform to do that. But, and I've had a chance to speak with most of the guys, individually. And certainly those conversations range in a lot of ways, but everybody's got feelings about that, and your feelings aren't wrong. Um, and just to have empathy, to want to understand, to um, have a desire to learn as much as you can about this so that it can be stopped and we can move forward, where everybody is treated fairly. Um, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everyone deserves that. That's not, um, you know, liberty and justice for all, not some, but for all. And what that's what this country needs to be about.
Well, Coach, again, well said. One of the things that you had brought up earlier in relation to COVID-19, and it has been a few months since all of this started, your team did show strong academic success. They had the highest GPA in a single semester in Tennessee Tech men's basketball history. Your three seniors and everything that they were going through to conclude their collegiate careers, they end up combining for a 3.6 GPA. You had three players with a perfect 4.0 GPA. And as impressive as anything, 11 different student athletes made the TTU Dean's List. What do you think that says about your group of student athletes?
Well, we're committed to challenge these guys to be constantly learning, to constantly put themselves, to make them become the best version of themselves, to where they can be impactful leaders. And a big part of that for us is being serious about academics, and for those guys to be able to handle everything that went on. And we talked about a lot of those things that went on, and to have that type of success academically in that semester. I can't tell you how proud we are of them. We feel like that they've established a culture of accountability where there's psychological safety. We feel like that they're developing deep-rooted relationship with each other, understanding what is expected of them. You have to give a lot of credit to Levita Dexter, our academic counselor and coach. She and her staff did a phenomenal job with our young men. The communication was outstanding, along with our assistant coaches, Marcus King, Andre Bell, Alex Fain, Blake Gray. Those guys all did a phenomenal job of communicating, with our student athletes. And it was kind of chaotic and kind of hectic. Are we coming back to school? We have an extended spring break. This is gonna, we're gonna go totally online, and we're going to be remote. You're going to be home. You're not going to be on this campus. So for those guys to handle that, we're proud of them, because life does this to us. Adversity comes. And if you prepare yourself every single day, if you're about learning, growing, and getting better, so when this stuff happens, you are putting yourself, preparing for something yet to come, that when it does get here, you won't just say, this is too hard. This is not what I signed up for. No, you look at it a little bit different way. You said, today was a great day of learning on a Zoom call. It was unique. It was different. I've never done this before, but I think tomorrow will be better. Yesterday I couldn't even find the Wi-Fi, right? I couldn't find a place that had light in the room. You and I struggled with that earlier. I'm trying to get this call going. But again, I just think that I'm very proud of those guys. They are tremendous young men. They have the right DNA, and they're making progress right now as learners and leaders.
A lot of the things that you just said was also reflected in a previous video. Many of the head coaches at Tennessee Tech have put out a short video on social media, give an update on their program, and kind of reach out to many of the fans and supporters. Some of the things that you just said, and that was also discussed in that video, establishing a culture of accountability in year one. And that you said in that video, and you said it just now as well, that your team grew so much, especially mentally, as learners and leaders. That's just some great stuff to unpack there as you reflect on your first season as the head coach.
Well, for me, it's very clear about how I want to go about doing this time around as a head coach, as the leader of the program. And first and foremost, for me to challenge those guys to be learners and leaders, then I have to do it every single day myself. And I have become to really enjoy this process and being challenged. And my goal for the guys is that I'm going to, I promise you, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything, um, but I will challenge myself. I will be curious. I want to learn and I want to educate myself so that when we do get in these situations, that maybe I can pass along some knowledge and certainly affect change. So that's what these guys were able to do throughout the course of the year. It wasn't really about results. We all want to win. We want to graduate. We want to do all these things. But I think it's more important to really figure out how to win. And if you can truly grasp the understanding that this is about learning, this is about growing, this is about getting better, this is about handling adversity, this is about taking on challenge, running towards hard, not running away from it, handling success, because that's got its own set of challenges because you start to feel like you don't have to work as hard. Coach, I've already done it once. It'll be easy for me to do it again. Those mindsets, those are all distractions that come into and affect the present moment. And you can't do anything about the past. You can look back, you can learn from it. You don't need to stay there. You can't get all concerned and create a bunch of anxiety and fear about the future. The more we can stay in the present moment with a calm mind and develop these relationships through hard work, through taking on adversities, liking challenges, taking on things that are really hard, going against competition, taking on that math class, that English class, whatever it may be. I think our guys started to get comfortable with that. You could see that because our play got better. And honestly, we talk a lot about how mindset matters. We believe it's the great separator of individuals. It's a great separator of teams. And we saw that. We saw that. So as coaching staff, we're doubling down. If we can moving forward, if we can continue to make the type of progress mentally that we did this year, and we can develop players from one year to the next, if we can do a good job of recruiting and bring in talented, physically gifted guys, then we've got a real shot to show improvement, which is what it's all about. We're all a work in progress, and we all chasing perfection. We could understand we may not get there, but that's what we're going after. And to be able to evaluate that on a daily basis and to start to embrace attitude, to embrace body language, these guys did a great job of that. And that's why we started to play better at the end of the year. We started thinking differently. And I think that's so important because it's so many times, Dylan, it's not about talent. Talent will let you down. The most talented teams don't always win. It's the teams that communicate the best together. That's a team that works best together. And if you can develop skills, if you can gather talent with that type of mindset, then you really put yourself in a situation to take on any and all challenges. Doesn't mean you're always going to conquer those challenges, but you're not going to be fearful. You're not going to be stuck in the past. You're not going to be looking to the future. You're going to stay right in the present moment and go after it. That's what I like so much. And one of the biggest moments was, I know we won some games there at the end of the year, but we had a chance to go to Belmont, who ended up being the conference champion, the tournament champion. And we went over there and we stood up and we played them really well on their home court. And we were disappointed with the result. It came down to like a one possession game or whatever. And in our league, you play on Thursday and you turn around and play again on Saturday. And then all of a sudden we found ourselves in a situation where we were competing to make the conference tournament. So with very little time, we had to go back on the road, play another very good basketball team, and we stood up again. Even though we didn't get the results we wanted, we went in and played together with a great attitude that was taking care of our teammates, taking care of Tennessee Tech. Our body language reflected that. We were in the present moment, and we played probably as well as we could play. Even though we came up a little bit short, that's still success. And that's what I'm most proud of. There wasn't any excuse making. We started owning everything. And ownership is important, to take extreme ownership in something. We want a player-run program. And when guys start taking ownership in things, and holding each other accountable, that's when you've really got something special. That's where the magic happens. And those guys got really close. At the end of the day, that's what this whole thing is about. Learning about each other, getting to know each other. You develop trust. You take on challenges that are really hard. If you accomplish it, then you try to do it 30 times. That's a college basketball season. And that you create this relationship, you create these moments. Sports are powerful, and you develop relationships on a real deep and intentional and meaningful way. And I think that happened. These guys really established a great culture. They established a culture of accountability. And I think there's a lot of psychological safety right now where they feel like they can become vulnerable with their teammates. And even if they're right, that's great. They'll be encouraged to do more, to be aggressive, to stay with it. If maybe they're off target a little bit, I think we were able to start coaching each other, and our brother could be our keeper and kind of redirect and aim you and getting you back online, learning how that you may have to talk to me differently than you talk to somebody else. All those things happen. So we established all those things. The players established all those things. The assistant coaches did an amazing job of kind of understanding how we wanted to go about doing this. But really proud of that. It was one of the most enjoyable years I had in coaching, to see those guys grow like that.
It's enjoyable to hear some of these things. It was enjoyable all year long to hear you say about how mindset matters and talk about a calm mind during pressure moments. You just said the ability to stay in the present and understand how your thoughts can control in the present, because that's the only place that action can be taken. These are things that can benefit all of us in all walks of life, business, family and friends, dealing with those types of relationships, and certainly the challenges that we have faced over the last few months. How did you come to realize that thinking and a lot of what you just discussed would be this important to a college basketball program?
Well, I think so many times, in life, we get distracted. We're told stories from the very beginning. Oh, you're really smart. Oh, you're good at this. And all of a sudden, only thing we want to do is do the things that make people think we're really smart, or do the things that people think that we're really good at. And we lose this creativity. We lose the energy to keep getting back up. Like when you started to learn to ride a bike, Dylan, everybody encouraged you and you fell down. You were horrible at it, but everybody kept telling you what a great job you did. And you just kept bouncing right back up and trying. Did they send you to a bike riding camp? No. Did they get you a bike riding coach? No. Did they make you do drills on how to spin the pedal around so many times with your right leg? And then, no, they didn't. And when we're younger, we have the ability just to learn and to absorb information and to do it and to do it and do it, because it's not a fixed mindset. It's a growth mindset. And that's what I want for our guys. So many times we see these distractions where, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to look good. And we back away from a challenge, or we don't give our best effort. We're thinking about something else while we're doing it, and it's just not our best rep. And you can see it. Some people call it pressure. Some people call it choking. Some people, whatever you want to call it. Fatigue is a distraction as well. And big moments or whatever the case may be, the ability to focus like you're just calm in the eye of the storm. It can be going on crazy all around you, but you can be walking straight through. I mean, you start to think about some of these things. You want some general who's wild and crazy leading our troops? No. Do you want some doctor that he kind of gets you on the operating table and gets in and goes, wow, this is a whole lot worse than I thought. I've never seen like this before. And no, you don't want that. You want somebody that is able to stay in the moment, work the problem, work well with other people, keep a great attitude. And when things don't go your way, just stay with it. Because the more we stay with it, more we take on hard, then that's where the great stuff is for us. Sometimes we don't even know how close we are to something really special happening. And I think to answer your question, I think we become our own worst enemies and we don't get our best rep. And then years down the road, we all say, wow, I wish I would have known back then what I know now. and we feel like we've missed an opportunity. It's okay. Sometimes it takes some of us a little bit longer. We all got our own path. Our adjustment level to college basketball is different. My adjustment level to college basketball, I had to redshirt. I wasn't physically able. Bradley Beal came to us at Florida, and he was 17 years old. And he told Brad, something one time, and he had it. And he went and done it very well. So somewhere in between that spectrum, having to redshirt or being Brad Beal, who knows what your adjustment level will be to college basketball, or what your adjustment level may be to any walk of life that we're in. But if we can take control of the story, stay in the present moment, I can learn and get better at anything. It may take me some time. I may not become Tiger Woods. I may not become LeBron James, but I can get better through repetition, through the right attitude, through training the correct way. And I think at the end of the day for athletes, and probably at the end of the day for all of us as human beings, we just don't want to leave any money on the table. We want to just make sure we exhaust everything in our body, all the perspiration, sweat, blood, and tears, so that when we get done, we can walk away. Now, I don't know how I got to that, but I had that feeling through Coach Pitino and my teammates at Kentucky and playing there. I feel like, when my career was ready to be over with, that was okay. I'd done as much as I possibly could. I tried to soak it up. I stayed in the moment. I had so much fun playing there. I had Hall of Fame coaches. We played Kentucky, the best competition in the world. We were always on TV. What else did I need? A few more games on TV? No, I was okay. When I got to the end of the road, now it's time for you to shift gears and to go into another direction. And so that's what I want for our guys. And I do know this time around, for me, that's really important. I want this to be a transformational experience for everybody. The assistant coaches, the players, this school, this program, for Cookeville. And I think that's our opportunity right now. The only way to do that is to make sure we're telling ourselves the right story, that we are more than capable every single day of learning, growing, and getting better. That's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset where somebody told me this is all I can do. I don't want that for those guys. I want this thing to be reversed. I don't know if I'm doing a good enough job explaining to these guys, but I am challenging myself to learn and move in that direction because it's science. The brain is plastic. It can learn from start to finish. And it's an old cliche, but it's true. It's like a muscle. The more you work it, the better it gets. And so we really challenge our guys to have this understanding that mindset is important. And it's in every facet of life. Now, a lot of these guys, they love that mindset when it comes to basketball, to lifting weights. But they may only have a fixed mindset when it comes to going to school, that I only want to be this type of student. Well, listen, come on. If you don't go to any tutoring, you only go to class sometimes, you never go to study hall and you get a C, that's not good enough. If you make every class, you talk to the teacher, you do a good job with your tutors, you go to study hall and you get a C, we're going to celebrate that because you put in the work and that's where you are right now. Does that mean you can't get a B the next time? No, it doesn't. But learn from what you went through by challenging yourself, and there's no question that you can grow and get better at that. So, yeah, I think just a lot of experience, having a chance to go through it, especially maybe more so as a coach, because as a player, I don't know, for some reason, I always, even to a bad performance or when people told me that I wasn't good enough to play or you'll never be able to do this, that, the other, that was really, something that I was very resilient and found my way back to trying again. And I want these guys to believe in themselves, to really understand that they can learn and grow and get better. They got to do it in the present moment. Okay. They can't make plans to graduate. They can't make plans to be a good basketball player. They can't make plans to be a leader and then never putting action to it. Words are great. Words are powerful. Words are important. But words without action, they don't really mean a whole lot. They lose their effect. And so human beings, we are better when we have a target. We're better when we're aimed at something. But that doesn't need to be our total focus. That can be the goal. That can be something that we're shooting for. That can be that mythical ridge line, that we're all trying to get to. But we have to stay in the moment every single day. And the things that you can control are your ability to learn, grow, and get better, to be a phenomenal teammate with a great attitude, which leads to really good body language, which is the code, which is whatever happens, own the results, take extreme ownerships, and learn, and then go do it again. Take all that information and then go do it again.
Learn, grow, and get better. I mean, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. That is something that can benefit all of us in all walks of society and all walks of life. It's just so spot on, and to hear it in relation to coaching, player development, and running a program, that's exciting. And we see it play out through kind of all aspects of your program. I say that because one of the larger pieces of Tennessee Tech athletics news over the last few months, of course, no games means less content, but there was a story about the 6 players that you signed to the 2021 roster. There is the ttsports.com press release on all 6. There is also a release on each individual player. Mike Lehman, sports information director, did a great job with those. One of the things that I saw in each of those quotes from you about each player's mindset, and you had a quote, a variation of it that went into, they embrace the code and they embrace leaders first mentality. Coach, obviously we can talk about their physical skills and what they can bring to the table there, but that's got to be really exciting for you that they get it mentally.
Dylan, one of the things when I got fired from Arkansas and I went back to Florida for the second time for my second administration, and the stuff that I learned there, and then we got left behind when Billy left and went on to the NBA. One of the things for me that was very important was to make sure that if we got back in leadership, we really were going to be ready for it. And mentality for those young men and how we wanted to go about doing this. Who do we want to be around? If we want to create a transformational experience, it's more about who than where. And right now we have a chance to collect the right DNA. Not that we're all going to be the same. We're not all the same. We're all different. We love diversity, okay? But we all had to have some common things in mind. And we talked to everybody about, if you want to come to Tennessee Tech, if you want to come join and be a part of what we're doing, you got to be serious about school. You got to be serious about ball. And you got to be serious about serving in the community. And that's where we start with all this stuff. And yeah, we know that we can't win the Kentucky Derby with a mule. We know that. Talent does matter. Make no mistake about that. But mentality is more important, to be hard-nosed, tough, nasty, physical, resilient. Also willing to sacrifice, kind, helpful, willing to sacrifice, to understand what it's about to be a part of a team, to understand the greater love in the locker room, the greater the team. To understand those things is really important. And so when I was trying to figure out who I wanted to do this with, that's the same message to the assistant coaches. It's the same message to the players. And that's where we start, because the last thing I want is for somebody to get here and say, Coach, you didn't tell me it's going to be like this. This is not what you said. I had that done to me in the recruiting process. I didn't like the way that felt. And so we try to be very transparent. We try to keep it as simple as possible. Simple doesn't always mean easy, okay? But going through this process and talking to these coaches, who I could not be more ecstatic about who I'm working with, Marcus King, Andre Bell, Alex Fame, Blake Gray. These guys are awesome. They really are. I'm blessed and honored that they decide to come with us. It's the same thing for the players. We talk about these things first. And when you started looking at those press releases, I was very intentional about not labeling these guys. Oh, he's a shot blocker. Oh, he's an athlete. This guy is going to, come in and be one of the best three-point shooters in the Ohio Valley Conference. Well, what happens if he doesn't make a shot? What happens if he never blocks a shot? What happens if he he's not as athletic as some of the other players in the league. These guys are all going to be made to feel that way. I didn't want to tell stories on those guys based on results, things that they can't control. There's always somebody out there that's probably going to be a little bit better than you. What I think is really important and what we can't control is our effort, our attitude, our ability to learn, our ability to constantly bring it every single day, to be helpful and kind to each other, to when we run onto people on campus or in this community to say yes sir, no sir, all those types of things. And when you saw the kids, the student athletes, the new recruits, or you listen to quite honestly, when you listen to our post-game press conferences throughout the course of the year, you started hearing these things. These guys started to identify with the things that we were saying that we valued, that we thought were important in terms of individuals, of who we wanted to be a part of, because DNA is important in your program. Culture always wins. And for those things, for these guys to come be on board, it's very humbling to know that we're starting to get a group of guys that are all thinking the same way. And I was really proud of their comments because they said, hey, when we got there, it wasn't really about basketball. They care about me as a man. We talked a lot about leadership. I'm looking forward to developing relationships with the guys on the team. You know, yeah, are we all getting together because of basketball? Absolutely. But that's exciting for me. The things that we're talking about that are important to it, they're saying yes to, and they're kind of giving it back. You know, we already talked earlier about, you know, how much the guys grew last year and how much they learned, or whatever the case may be, how they tried to establish culture and mindset, this, that, and the other. Nobody learned more last year than this guy. I was the biggest winner in terms of learning, and learning from the players. They taught me more than anybody. The players always teach you what's the most important things, where they're struggling, what's going well, where they understand. And then when you see them start to put some of this stuff into use, or you see them come over and they have a conversation in the heat of the moment, and then say, Coach, maybe this is going to work. I said, you know, right? You know what? You're right. Go tell your teammates. And then he goes and he communicates that to them. That's for us right now, from a leadership perspective, what gets us really excited. Because I can't check into the game. I would love to check into the game. I love playing basketball. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. But, you know, to see these guys grow like that, that's where the magic is. And I'm just so excited about where we're positioned at right now. The 6 guys that are coming back, the 6 guys that are coming in, I think we're physically going to look different than a year ago. Now we've got to develop the players in the program. The guys coming in, they're going to have a challenge to come in and learn, grow, and see how quickly they can transition to college basketball. Then the whole group, we're going to have to figure out how quickly can we all get on the same page and take on all these challenges. That's a schedule. And if we have success or we don't have success, can we be resilient and tough enough and together enough to learn from that? And then let's go try it again, day in, day out, for however long the season is, 5 or 6 months, and then to see where it's at the end.
Well, it's exciting to hear that. It's exciting, the 6 players coming in. It's exciting to hear about the returning players. If you look at the last couple of months, and so far it's been great, an enjoyable conversation with you, learning a lot myself here throughout this. But it's great also to be able to talk to a basketball coach. We had Kim Roseman on, the Tennessee Tech women's basketball coach, in a previous episode of Wings Up Weekly. When you think in relation to COVID-19, the role that basketball had in it. First, the NBA postponing their season. It was promptly followed by March Madness getting canceled. The basketball coaching community seems to be a tight-knit group that associates with each other often. You've been a coach for a long time. You've been around the game for a long time. What sort of conversations with coaches and other people in the game of basketball have you had over the last couple months?
You know, I think it's been a really good time of reflection, you know, to, you know, what has worked, what was, you know, and obviously at the end of our season, we're always going to reflect and see what we could have done better. What do we need to add to our team? Those type, what can we do with this roster we may have? What can we do that looks different next year? I think also a big thing for me is to learn and develop new skills. You know, what can I with this time? Because we have socially distanced. That's why I'm wearing a hat right now. I haven't been to my father's mustache in 3 months. I can almost put my hair in a ponytail right now. So with this time, what are you going to do with it? Can you acquire some new skills? Can you read? Can you learn? Can you podcast? Can you have some conversations with some people that you haven't had a chance to catch up with, and ask questions, then listen, then learn? For me, we have our code, we're constantly hammering our players with this. This is how you go about learning, growing, getting better. This is how you stay in the present moment. This is our mental method of operating. Well, I have to model that myself. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I fall short. Just like I want our players to feel like in practice that we have a environment where it's okay to fail, learn from it, get back up, try it again, play faster. You made a mistake. Now let's go fast again and see if you can make that shot. Let's see if you can push the ball up the floor without turning it over, playing that fast. And let's just do it and do it and do it. And it's okay. And so I think for us as coaches, we have to stick to the code. We have to model that. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of challenges, whether it's been basketball, whether it's talking to coaches about how they're communicating with their team, how are you developing relationships. Let's talk about, okay, we don't get a summer. What's that look like? How do we get back into that? From a conditioning standpoint, do we push back practice? Do we really make sure we got a good weight room foundation before we start doing anything too crazy on the court, competitive wise, because we don't want to get these guys hurt? So there's been a lot of stuff like that we've talked about, bounced around. For me, obviously, too, at this time, we've worked hard as a staff with our schedule, talking to a lot of different people about, some former coaches that are no longer in this league that, you call and try to pick their brain. When you were getting started, what was your thoughts on a scheduling philosophy, and things of those type of natures, where, because sometimes you get caught up when, you have to go to work every single day, and you get busy with life, and some of these little things you don't do. Well, if we all really understood the little things add up to be big things. You get enough of these little things, that's what always comes down to winning and losing. That's what always comes down to us maybe being that much better of a leader, being that much better of a learner, staying a little bit more curious. So I think from that standpoint, COVID-19 has provided us with all of an opportunity, or at least that's probably the best way to deal with it, because right now the only way that we've been able to deal with this thing is to socially distance, stay at home, stay informed, make good decisions and choices. So I don't think we've had to really create and do anything different, Dylan. That's what a big thing I want our guys to understand. This is our way of doing things. Stick to the code, no matter if it's a basketball season, if it's COVID-19, if it's social injustice. Let's stick to the code. Let's learn, grow, get better, be informed, develop deep-rooted relationships, create as much value in yourself as you possibly can, because if you can do that, then you can have a positive effect on the people around you. And quite honestly, we're having a lot of opportunities to put this to use.
So one of the fun things that we've been able to do on this podcast, we've had a lot of the Tennessee Tech head coaches on. We've been able to ask them about their own playing career, because chances are, if you're a Division I head coach, you probably had a pretty good playing career and a pretty good collegiate career. You certainly fit that mold for what you were able to accomplish at the University of Kentucky, and we'll get into that. But first, how close were you to pursuing a baseball career? Well, you were a pretty good pitcher back in the day.
Well, I think pretty good maybe, listen, some people love ice cream and some people love their mama. It's two different definitions of love, right? So pretty good for me, maybe for somebody else may not be pretty good. But I was very fortunate growing up, Dylan. I had a chance to play all the sports, and I played a lot of baseball growing up, spent a lot of time in the summer there. Because of my size, I was 6'7". It probably made it a little bit challenging for time I let it go. People probably thought it was halfway there or whatever. And I played for a great high school coach who ended up winning a state championship and a lot of really good high school players that I played with who ended up going to college on a baseball scholarship. So we had a lot of fun. It was really competitive where I grew up, and I know I was eat up with basketball. I was completely consumed with that. So yeah, I was going to play baseball. I even played some summer baseball, even when um, I got into college there for one summer until Coach Patino came in and he made sure he stopped that. And like he said, how serious about basketball can you be? You're playing baseball right now. But anyway, I digress. But I just was completely consumed with basketball and those challenges. And certainly when I got to Kentucky, I completely understood that if I'm going to have a chance to play here, I'm going to have to spend all my time just trying to survive at the best place on earth. I mean, it's the winningest program in the history of college basketball. And just to be on the team is a real challenge. You're going to have to be really good just to have a chance to play, and you better be good because all the people came before you, the schedule that you got to play, they had unbelievable success, and you don't want to be at a place and that has had so much success, and then you be there and not be very good. So that was a heavy mantle for us to deal with because of all the stuff that we had to go through. But yeah, my playing career is something that everybody understands. My love affair with my alma mater, and I could have played there forever. I mean, I played for two Hall of Fame coaches. Coach Sutton, who just passed away, was an unbelievable human being. He brought me to college basketball as a player. He brought me to college basketball as a coach. I will always be eternally grateful to him and his family. I probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. Then obviously having a chance to play for Coach Patino, who gave me a college career because before him I never really played at all, certainly not any meaningful minutes. And then to have the experience that we had those last 3 years was really magical. And the assistant coaches there at that time was Tubby Smith, Ralph Willard, Billy Donovan, Herb Sindek, Bernadette Maddox. Even a couple of the student managers were high school coaches. One of them won a state championship. So we were just surrounded by a lot of really quality people. And it was just something that was a great time in my life.
You can hear the distinct pride in your voice when you talk about playing for the University of Kentucky and playing basketball there. And of course, you remember the senior class, the unforgettables. You had your number 34 jersey retired in what sounded like a surprise. It happened right after your career. What was that night? What did it mean to you and to look up and see that jersey retired?
Well, first of all, you don't ever go. You hope to just, as a kid growing up in the States, you hope to get a chance to go there. And you certainly don't go there arrogant thinking that, you know what, I'm going to go there, I'm going to play all the minutes, we'll score all the points, and then when I get all done, they're going to retire my jersey. Because first of all, when I first went there were no jerseys retired. I remember when Coach Newton, who was our athletic director, who recruited me to Vanderbilt when I was coming out of high school. And I was actually going to go to Vanderbilt until Kentucky offered me a scholarship. But I remember him retiring the first jersey, Dan Issel. And Coach Newton had a very distinct way of that little, 2-minute ceremony. And when we were having our banquet that night, none of us looked up. We had no idea. And all we had to do was turn around and look because there was 4 banners hanging in the rafters and they were covered. But they were behind us and nobody ever turned and looked. But when Coach Newton got out there and he started this speech, because they ended up retiring a bunch of jerseys after Dan Issel. And so we became accustomed to what that procedure was. And when he started that, we're like, what is he doing? And I turned and looked over my shoulder, and I'll never forget this. I was sitting beside Darren Feltus. I said, Darren, they're going to retire our jerseys. He said, no way. I said, yeah, turn and look. He says, I can't. I'm afraid to. And so it's still the most tremendous honor I've ever received in sports. Completely 100% humbled by it. I've been very fortunate to go back in there as an assistant coach. I've been very fortunate to go back in there as a head coach. I still can't believe it's up there. But I'm certainly, it's like I said before, it's the greatest honor I've ever received in sports.
Coach, a lot of people, and especially when I said, yeah, we're going to have Coach Pelphrey on Wings Up Weekly for this podcast, a lot of them were like, are you going to talk about 1992 Elite Eight game against Duke? There is no Elite Eight game against Duke if it wasn't for the Sweet 16 game against a John Calipari-led UMass team. They were 30-4 going into that game. They had won 14 straight games. You guys get on them early. They come back. They cut it to a 2-point game. Of course, Jamal Mashburn, a great career. He has 30 in that game. You in that game had 18 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, and 4 steals. What do you remember most about that Sweet 16 game?
Well, we had played them earlier in the year, and UMass had gone to the Great Alaskan Shootout, and I believe they'd won the tournament. And then on their way back, they stopped in Lexington and played us. And they were exhausted, they were jet lagged, they were dead. And obviously it's a big game because Coach Pitino went to UMass. He played there with Dr. J. And so we completely ran them out of the building. It wasn't even close. I think we beat them like 30 points. And so now here we are again, and we're in Philadelphia. And Dr. J is at the game. And you know, it's a rematch for Coach. And we could all tell that he wasn't making it about him, but it was a big game. And they were good. Make no mistake about that. They were good. Coach Calipari is, he's a Hall of Fame coach in his own right, national champion. And we're very proud to have him at Kentucky. We want him to keep winning 30 games a year. We like that. It keeps us in first place. But, the game, we got off to a great start, and I think we got a pretty good lead there. I think we may have even been up like 15, and then the last shot before the half, Jim McCoy, who was a great scorer, throws one in from over half court. And it either cut the game to 12, or maybe we were up 12 and it cut the game to 9. And we took a gasp, and we're like, we knew what was coming. We got in the locker room, and Coach Pitino went crazy and wild. This game is not over. They're going to come back. You're going to get both barrels in the second half. You're going to have, it was just keeping us on edge. And he was right. Both teams really settled into the game in the second half. It was a back and forth battle. Obviously for us, coming down the stretch, we were kind of getting whatever we wanted in that basketball game. We were an offensive machine. We were really challenging. We had 5 guys that could shoot threes. We had a guy that you couldn't guard by yourself, and Jamal Mashburn. We were really clicking on all cylinders offensively. But I know what Cal's going to say. Cal's going to say that there was a technical foul called, and that's swung the game. He may be right. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it put us in a situation, to play the next night against, the best team in the country, arguably one of the best teams in college basketball history, with a lot of great players, with a coach who's still coaching. And it turned into another epic battle. And what many people think is the greatest game of all time. I don't agree with that at all. But our win against UMass was a really high level basketball game. Played very well.
I appreciate you started to get into that Elite Eight game against Duke. We don't really have to talk about that, but I just have one quick question, because there's no live sports going on right now. So we're seeing a lot of the networks play old, historical, classic games. That game certainly fits that mold. CBS during March Madness aired that game. I stumbled upon it. I started watching it. I had this thought. If you're at home, you're sitting on the couch, enjoying your afternoon, maybe you're with your family, and you're scrolling through the channels, and you were to land on that game, is that a hard pass, like on to the next channel, off for a few minutes, maybe watch yourself get a bucket? Like, what happens in that scenario?
I haven't been in Kentucky since I left, right? So I went overseas. I started my coaching career, got away. So my kids really haven't had to grow up with all that. And it's not like I sit around and watch games, right? So I want them to be who they are, this, that, and the other. Joe bag of donuts, no big deal. But when that game did come on, I'm literally driving down Washington Avenue, and my phone starts ringing. I get a call from Kentucky, and then I'm like, I'm not talking to him right now. I'm driving. And then another call, right? I can't talk right now. It's a different person. I'm driving. And then I get to the red light, and I'm like, what is going on? And then all these text messages start coming in. They're playing the game. Can you believe this? And it's just like, some of it's good, some of it's bad. And I'm like, I know what's going to happen when I hit the door. They're going to be sitting here watching this game. You won't let us watch this. Why didn't you show us this? So I fell into it, Dylan. I'll be honest. I started watching the game, and Vern
Okay.
Lundquist and, and all the deal. And you started having an appreciation for how fast the game was played, both teams going at each other, just, letting it rip. Everybody's locked into the moment, right? Like there's nobody worried about anything. And guys, both sides are just putting on a show. And I'll be honest with you, halfway through the second half, I thought we were going to win the game. So I don't, I don't, even to this day, I fall under the spell of what competition and athletics do to us. It makes us a little bit crazy.
Wait, so was that the first time that you had watched the game at all, or any part of the game since the game was played?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first time probably as close as I've ever come watching a game start to finish. Sometimes it's hard to get away from the shot. What is it now for 23, 24 years in March Madness? No matter where you turn, you're going to see the shot, right? You're going to see the shot. But yeah, that's probably as much of the game as I've ever seen from start to finish. And I still didn't see it all. You could probably figure out what portions of the game I decided not to watch.
Yeah, that's a good move. Well, you brought up and your family there and watching it. This has been a time of family throughout the last few months. Many of us has had to stay home and be around family a lot. It kind of got me thinking in your situation, just how cool that this probably was this past year. Your son Jackson is a manager for the Tennessee Tech men's basketball team, so he's on the bench there. And then your daughter Grace is a Golden Eagle women's basketball player, especially with the way that the OVC does the conference schedule, double headers, same two teams, the men and the women are in the same place on the same night. So many times you're in the building during Grace's game, then you have your game with your son on the bench. Like, that just seems so cool. What was that like this past year?
Well, we're very thankful to Mark Wilson, to Dr. Oldham and his family for giving this opportunity to get back in leadership here. You're exactly right. It is a real blessing. Both of my kids were just fine at Alabama. Jackson had just got named a head manager 3 months prior to us leaving, which is a heck of an honor. And he decided to come with us and to be a part of this. When Jackson left and Grace kind of felt like her situation was going to be a little bit different there as a walk-on at Alabama, where she had a great experience. Christy Curry is a phenomenal coach and an even better person. But she said, I want to come be a part of this as well. And as a father, as a leader of the household, to have these guys make that decision, because I didn't make them. I didn't want to do that. This is if I'm leading them, if I'm teaching them how to fish, I don't want to feed them. They got to learn and do this, right? That's something they got to make these decisions, and to have them make these decisions to come with us. And then for Jackson to want to be a part, for Grace to have the opportunity to come and join this team. We're very appreciative of Kim giving her that opportunity. She really identifies with this culture of the women's team. And that's a tribute to Kim and her staff, to the young ladies that are on that team and embracing her the way they have. And it's this for us is a really cool, unique, blessed moment in time. And we get to share it together. And it's an opportunity to find a home in Cookeville, which has been a little over a year now, and we have loved it. It's an opportunity for us to partner up with Mark and Phil and everybody here in the community to see if we can build this basketball program and where can we go with it. So we feel very fortunate and blessed to be here.
That's great stuff. And we're heading to the end here. Wings Up Weekly. As we do with every episode, whoever our guest is, we give them the floor to give the message to fans, supporters, and kind of everyone following the program going forward. So, Coach, we'll have you end the episode. What would be your message to the Golden Eagle fans, to the supporters, and to anyone else that you would like to cover in your message?
Well, I think, just for us, just to understand that we appreciate all your support. Um, we are excited to continue to partner up with you and to, you know, lead these young men, help them become the best versions of themselves. Um, we are very thankful for how they interact, how they treat our guys. Our guys feel very comfortable here. Just know you guys, this is a safe environment. Our guys enjoy going to school here. That was one of the things that attracted me to the job, quite honestly. I asked the players, what did you like about going to school here? They said the people. And I said, at the school or in the community? And they said both. That wasn't just one player that said that. That was several guys. So I think it's important for the people of Cookeville, our supporters, our donors, all those people, just understand you're doing a great job. And our players feel comfortable. And that is a huge deal for us as coaches, for you to understand that. And but we are excited about the future. We like where we're positioned. And we think that we have a chance to show improvement this upcoming season.
All right, Coach. Well, this is a lot of fun. I mean, I can hear you talk philosophy and thinking, and then I can hear you talk about Kentucky games like for so long. We're going to cut our time off right here. Coach, thank you so much for joining us here on Wings Up Weekly this week.
Well, Dylan, it's been a pleasure to work with you as well. Thank you for the time today, and look forward to growing our relationship as well.
All right, that's going to do it. Another episode here of Wings Up Weekly.